Hey friends, today I want to talk to you about making connections, meeting people that may help you with your sourcing, places that you can go to source because you've made friendships, consignment stores, you've met people at the bins, you've met people at the flea market, and they have other ventures that they're into that you can get items from. You never know. So stay tuned for this video. So I'm all about building relationships, like talking to people and getting to know them. Oftentimes, it's like this kind of like taboo in the reselling community that you go into the thrift store and you just kind of stay in your community, your corner, and you don't talk to anyone. That was like a big experience for me when I first started reselling. I started reselling, wow, it's almost 4.5 years ago. It'll be 5 years in April. And I started going to the outlet with my husband. He had already been sourcing there before he knew me. I've been going to the Goodwill bins or the outlet for 8 years. And so Thomas was already selling on eBay, selling on Amazon. So he had already been going to the outlet. It was actually, he tried to impress us. If you've never heard this story before, he had taken me to the outlet on like a date, and he was like, oh, it's this great place, I want to take you. So I think that helped me fall like a little bit more in love with him, because I'm not into like anything big or showy, forget the dinner or whatever. It was something different and unique. So we went to like this outlet and it was great. And then we were able to experience the joy of them moving that outlet closer to our home, which is only 15 minutes away. So it just became a regular place for us to source. So keep in mind, I've been shopping the Goodwill outlet for 8 years. I've only been a reseller for 4.5 years. So it was a place that we would go before I even knew it was called the bins. I learned about the bins term through the reselling community, but we were going there. That's where we would take our girls when they were, I had a daughter in 5th grade when we first moved here, and the two girls in high school. And we would just tell them to each take a cart, and they would just love the hunt of finding clothes that they could wear for school. So my point in this is going, don't be shy when you go places. Don't be intimidated, because when we would go, my husband like knew everyone. Everybody knows him because he's always going. If you look up our local bins here in Delaware, he's in a lot of the pictures because they just go around and randomly take photos of the store, and you could see him digging through the bins. And you can see him talking to people. You can see him talking to the cashiers. You can see him just building relationships casually. One of the cool things about when the bins opened up the new store here, we started to get to know people from the beginning. It was like empty, people were reselling, but it wasn't as crazy as it is now, where it's full and it's a lot of people. So we were able to talk to people. We go in and see the same faces. That's what I like about going and sourcing. I like to talk to people. I can be introverted, but I do like to start conversations and build relationships. And I found that I would go to the bins. It was great. I developed like really severe allergies, so I just kind of started going to the retail store on the off times. I would go to the bins probably once or twice a month, and then hit the retail stores when they had sales. So at this one local retail store, which is literally 5 minutes in the car from my house, I saw I saw a person on her phone, and I'm like, hey, are you a reseller? And she looked at me and backed away, and she said yes. And I was like, oh, what platform are you selling on? Are you selling on eBay or Poshmark? And she looked at me and she says, I'm selling on Poshmark. And I was like, hey, my name is Leslie. And she really was not interested in me at all. And I was like, wow, that like really was weird for me. I mean, we exchanged information. I followed her on Instagram and I followed her on Poshmark, and she never returned that. So I kind of got a little skittish about the retail stores, and you go in there and people are their heads down and not interested. Different people have different stories. I think the connections are made more at the bins than at the retail store, because people people are like, to me, selfish. Why are you selfish? It's enough in here for everyone. Like literally, if she had taken time to get to know me, I had more followers than her on Instagram and on Poshmark, which wasn't a big deal, but it was just like, hey, because at the time I was building the local community to host my first Passion Sip. So that's why I was making connections. I didn't know how to reach people, but then I learned all that on the Poshmark app, where I just went into my city and then the surrounding cities and reached out to people. And I had a Passion Sip, and I haven't seen the lady. I probably wouldn't know her if I see her again. But the whole point is like, really make connections, get to know people, talk to them, because you don't know who your new best friend is going to be. You don't know who your next resource is going to be. You don't know who knows someone, right? So I have some notes that I'm going to look at, and I'll talk about that in right now. So definitely don't shy away from people, because you don't know who you're going to meet and who, again, is going to be your new best friend. I learned this a lot in terms of the reselling community from Thomas. When he goes to the bins, again, he really makes a connection with people, and he's just that guy. Like, he's just minding his business. Like, literally, if you don't take time to get to know him, you would think he was like this mean guy, because he has like this serious look on his face most of the time, until he smiles and shows how handsome he is with this like gap in his teeth. So the fact that people even approach him and ask him questions, I go sometimes, because I don't go all the time. I haven't been in a while, but when I would go with him, because a lot of times we didn't go together, but on the occasions that we would go together, all the women just love him, you know, from different countries and stuff. And he was like, oh, that's that person, and they sell here, and they're shipping stuff back to their country. And I'd be like, oh, really, huh? And then a couple people I had to get up real close. I'm like, he's my husband now. But he makes connections. A lot of the people who purchase items from the outlet also sell at the flea market, which is 5 minutes away. So a lot of people have kind of the same kind of thing. Thomas tries to be different, but what he's done is at the outlet and at the flea market make connections, right? So he has met people where he can get shoes, a person who has a high volume of shoes. Like 2 years ago, it was a friend of his who was liquidating. He had cancer. And he said to Thomas, like, if you clean out my shed, you can have this amount, and then the rest of the money will go to me. So Thomas had to clean out his storage area and open up his own storage area. And the guy had designated to split the items with other people. And it was just shoes as far as the eye could see in these 2 huge storage units. So that was a lot of inventory. So if I tell you that my husband has like 1,000 pair of shoes, he does. Our basement is full. And that guy kind of started it with more shoes and like a great place to source, because he had made connections and he trusted Thomas. And unfortunately, he passed away. But then Thomas knows another guy who can get shoes. He liquidates shoes. Then he knows a person who sells coats. He knows a person who sells plants. He knows someone, because he's made these connections. So he comes in yesterday and he says, oh, do you want to, I have all these shoes. Do you want some? Now, one of the guys that he gets shoes from smokes. So I went to his house once and I told Thomas, I don't want to get shoes from there anymore. And so when he said to me yesterday, oh, I have these shoes, I was like, never mind. So when I went downstairs, he had this huge bag of shoes that he was pulling shoes from. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is cool. He was like, yes. He paid $60 to this woman that he met at the flea market, that he's known her for like about 5 years now, a sight unseen. So it was a mystery bag of shoes, $60 that he paid. And it was filled with Michael Kors, Coach, Tory Burch, Uggs, Pink, Nike, all kinds of stuff. And it was just amazing. And it was super funny because it was brands that he didn't know, because Thomas is mostly sells men's shoes and he's getting into women's shoes. And so he said to me, oh yeah, so I'm going to the flea market tomorrow, which is today, Tuesday. He said, I'm going to the flea market, so I'm going to take these shoes. I don't know them. I'm going to stick them on the table and just let people take them for like $5. I'm like, so I want that pair, because they were like Uggs, Coach, Allegria, which is like the work shoes, right? I have them next to me. Let me see if I can go through real quick. Like a Coach shoe, and this is a Tory Burch flip-flop, right? I mean, so it was like really funny. He was going to take these right here and put them on a table for somebody to just buy for $5. No thank you. But that's because he made connections, because he talks to people. You never know who people are. So the more conversation you have, the more relationships you can build. Tell people what you do. So many people are afraid. I don't care. I mean, it's conversations when you go into the thrift store. Like, if the person asks you what you're doing, I'm like, I'm a reseller. Like, what are they going to do? Like, they're already raising the prices and stuff like that. The store is meant for everyone, regardless of what their plan is. Why are you afraid to say that you're a reseller? Someone can, unless it's privately owned, they cannot throw you out of a Goodwill. They cannot throw you out of a Savers. I've heard people tell those stories before, which I don't understand. That would be like a whole different, that would be a case as far as I'm concerned. You can't throw somebody out of the store because they're a reseller. So many people are reselling. I tell people what I do all the time. When I was preparing to go full time, I was shopping at a specific retail store, Goodwill retail store. Walked in one day and a good friend of mine had just transferred from the Maryland branch to a local Delaware branch, and she was the assistant manager. And she was talking to me, and I told her, I was like, I'm a reseller. So what she started to do was just send me text messages and say, oh, we got shoes in, and this is what time we're putting them out. Like, I told her, don't hold anything for me because I didn't want to be treated like that. But she did that the first time, and I was like, wow. So I would go in there, and she wouldn't fix the prices or give me a discount or anything like that. She would just let me know when they were putting batches of shoes out. So that's a connection. Thomas is the same way. He knows people. Talk to your family about what you're doing. I mean, don't do it in a way that you're like trying to sell them something, but I think if you just talk about just naturally what you're doing, people become intrigued. And someone's always giving things away, and they rather give it to someone they know. Now, you can get into the consignment and all that. I'm not interested in doing that. I'm not selling for anybody ever, ever, ever. I will teach you how to sell, because I've had people do that, and then eventually they'll say they don't feel like being bothered with it, and they'll give it to you, because the key was they were already sending it back to their local Goodwill or thrift store. So talk about what you do, and don't be ashamed. You're a customer. That's no different than this bashing in the community about, I can't believe a seller offered me this, sent me this offer. You're a buyer. Like, you guys got to stop like being ashamed of what you're doing. Another business owner is not going to be ashamed. I go in the thrift store, I don't care what, I'm having conversation. Who cares if they're upset that I'm buying the stuff. You know how much stuff sits on the racks? Times are tough right now. So if you don't want to talk about what you do, that's up to you. But I'm giving you some food for thought, that if you just have conversations, you never know where it's going to lead. Like I wrote, like, you might meet somebody who owns a consignment store. In the times that we're in now, people are liquidating. They have to close their store, this family store they've had for 50 years. And they were just going to do the same thing, have a sale. Not everything sells when it's a sale. It could be a closeout sale, and they still have 300 pieces left. You have the opportunity now to make a private appointment and go in and view these items. You can go to, again, local thrift store, build these communities. Colleges, you can go, students are getting rid of stuff. You can contact the college admissions or whoever, student services, and find out if they have a place where there are items that are no longer wanted. They might just give you that stuff for free. I live literally smack dead in the University of Delaware. And normally when school is in session, in June, they have what they call a sale. And then I'm right here, so I can walk over there, and they gate it in, and then they advertise all around, and they build everything in. And you can find everything from clothes to furniture, electronics, at reasonable prices. Students don't care. They haven't paid for anything that their parents pay for. Oh, I don't want it. Or seniors who they're moving to another state or whatever. So these are the places you need to look at. Any place that has a lost and found, a school, a hospital, an airport, they look, after a while, they need to figure out where to get rid of this stuff from. Make connections, make phone calls. Seriously, unclaimed places. Start doing some research and Googling. So that's basically it for that particular part. Like, make connections, build friendships, tell people what you do. There are so many places that you can get stuff. And it could be places you can actually go and look, because of course it's going to be places like the Marketplace and Nextdoor, but you don't want to just get crappy stuff, because you don't want somebody else's stuff to become your stuff. So, connect, especially if it's somebody who does own a consignment store. They get rid of boutiques. A boutique is a person who has bought all their stuff wholesale, right? And so now you want to be a wholesaler, so you can see what they have. Your prices don't have to be high. Not everyone sells things at escalated prices. You can sell your stuff on eBay at, very low price. So that's just a little food for thought for you in, building relationships. And hopefully I didn't talk too much. I like to engage and talk about like my life and my husband and everything like that, so that you can understand that we're real people. And then it's just like, for me, the stuff that I tell you is the truth. It's like, don't be ashamed of what you do. Don't be ashamed to tell people that you resell. That means that you're ashamed of it. Stop worrying about what other people think. I've never even thought twice about saying, oh, I'm a reseller. I've never even thought twice about it. This is what I do. I mean, I'm a business owner too. Now it's like sometimes I get caught up and I have to really think about it, because reselling now is only a portion of my business. Someone just asked me a few weeks ago, so what do you do? And I go, how do I break it down? It's like, because I resell, I tie-dye and all that kind of stuff. But don't be ashamed. I'm not ashamed. I'm proud of what I do. Hey, I don't work for anyone else. That's the key. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Give me a nice thumbs up and set a reminder for future videos. I have plenty of great content coming your way. Take care.